Let's look back at the old-school industrial dream. The goal used to be absolute self-reliance. You owned the raw materials, the shipping trucks, the factories, and the retail stores. You aimed to capture the entire life cycle of the product under one roof. The logic made sense. If you control every single step of the process, you guarantee the quality of the final product. Better yet, you don't have to share a single cent of the profit margin with anyone else. But trying to do everything yourself today is a trap. Maintaining all that infrastructure means taking on massive fixed costs. You end up paying for warehouses, heavy equipment, and a massive payroll, whether you are selling 1 million units or 0. When a market shifts or a new technology emerges, that massive infrastructure becomes a heavy anchor. A bloated organization simply cannot pivot fast enough to catch up to new trends. Total vertical integration doesn't build a resilient empire. It creates a slow, isolated lone wolf that is incredibly easy for faster competitors to disrupt. That happens because the basic rules of competition have changed. The battles of today are no longer Company A fighting Company B. We are now in an era where one ecosystem goes up against another ecosystem. When smaller companies try to expand, they usually face a tough choice. They can try to build a new capability from scratch, which drains cash and time, or they can buy an off-the-shelf software or solution, which rarely fits their specific needs perfectly. There is a third option. Instead of making or buying, you ally. Forming strategic partnerships creates a shortcut. It allows you to instantly plug into world-class resources without carrying the heavy financial risk of building them yourself. A smaller business doesn't need a multi-billion-dollar budget to take on industry giants. It just needs to engineer a superior, agile network of partners. Building this network doesn't necessarily mean complex, permanent joint venture contracts. You just need to select the right tool for the specific gap in your business model. For instance, you can use a strategic alliance. This happens when two completely different companies share the same target audience. Think about how Spotify integrated with Uber, so passengers could play their own playlists during a ride. They aren't competitors, but combining their services boosts the value for the customer. Then there's co-opetition. Sometimes fierce rivals will quietly team up behind the scenes. Two major auto manufacturers might co-develop a hybrid engine, simply to share the crushing costs of research and development. If two companies want to explore a completely new market, they might form a joint venture. This is a brand new entity built from the ground up. An auto manufacturer and a chemical company, for example, combining their specific expertise to build an electric battery plant. Finally, there is the buyer-supplier relationship. Instead of squeezing your vendors for constant discounts, you treat them as partners. You send engineers to help them improve their own factory lines. When their processes get faster and cheaper, your raw materials get cheaper. Each of these 4 strategies solves a very specific growth problem, and they do it without forcing you to hire 50 new employees or break ground on a new facility. Let's look at how this works in practice. Imagine a mid-sized factory that manufactures skincare products. Operating alone, they are bleeding cash trying to fund their own chemical research lab, and their clients are constantly complaining about the high cost of custom packaging. They decide to stop doing it all themselves. First, they find an innovation partner. They trade access to their testing facilities with a university lab. In return, they get exclusive rights to use the university's patented chemical extracts in their products. Next, they secure a supply chain partner. The factory guarantees they will route all of their clients' packaging orders to one specific printing press. That massive, guaranteed volume allows the printer to drop prices significantly for everyone. Finally, they form a strategic alliance with a digital marketing agency. Now, when a client walks in the door, they get a custom chemical formulation, cheap bulk packaging, and a full brand rollout in one place. By plugging in these external pieces, the factory solved its overhead problem. They evolved from a highly replaceable manufacturer into an indispensable ecosystem hub. They offer a level of value that is impossible to match on their own. But relying on outsiders carries risk. A good partner fuels growth, but a poorly chosen partner acts as a parasite that infects your entire operation. To protect yourself, every relationship must be mathematically sustainable. If a deal gives you great margins but slowly bankrupts your supplier, that supplier will eventually collapse. The math has to work for both sides. You also have to eliminate any single points of failure. If you source a critical material from exactly one factory and that factory catches fire, your business burns down with it. Always have a secondary source. Your partners also need to share your core values. If your brand promises environmental sustainability, but your supplier is secretly dumping toxic waste, the public will blame you. And to make sure everyone actually delivers, these expectations must be locked down in measurable, strict service agreements. But above all, guard your intellectual property. If you hand your core product formulas over to an outside manufacturer, you need airtight non-disclosure agreements. You have to ensure they won't use your secrets to compete directly against you. An ecosystem is your strongest competitive advantage, but only if the structural connections holding it together are financially, legally, and ethically secure. Look at the modern economy. The winners are no longer defined by the largest real estate footprints, the highest fixed costs, or the most massive payrolls. The companies winning today are the ones orchestrating the most agile network. If you want to unlock rapid, sustainable growth, you must adapt. You have to let go of the idea that you need to build everything yourself. It's time to start building your ecosystem.